So much for coming. If you want to clap, you can now. Be a good time. Thank you. Thank you for coming here. I appreciate being here. And the reason why I keep doing this and doing it live is, again, as I told you earlier, I do it because I want you to know that whatever I say to you, I will say to everybody, right? It's now live. It's the same thing everywhere. And you brought up an important piece that I really wanted to bring up, which was the idea of cannabis, right? That concept. How are we going to deal with cannabis? What are we going to do about cannabis? And you brought up farmers, Nick, and I think those go together, right? They absolutely do. People think about cannabis and go, well, you know, it's because you want to smoke weed and get, you know, and get high. That's what people think about. It's not true. Now, some people do. And if you want to, please go ahead. I don't mind at all. Please smoke all the weed you want, get as high as you want. I'm fine with that. But my point is there's so much more to cannabis than just that. There's so much more to individual farmers than just that. People tell me, but Larry, you should be happy. The state is legalizing cannabis. Aren't you happy? I am not. I'm not. Why am I not happy? Because they're doing it in a way to ensure that big business wins and small farmers lose. That's what they're doing right now. I want to ask you a quick question. They created an Office of Cannabis Management. I'm not joking. They created an Office of Cannabis has been in the black market in this country for about 100 years, give or take. Maybe 90, maybe more close. About 90 years ago. It's been in the black market for 90 years in the black market. Where are all the deaths from cannabis?
From the drug war.
Yes, that's deaths from the drug war. From cannabis, where's the deaths? None. So for 90 years in the black market, there's no deaths. So now when they make it legal, why do you have to regulate it? If it was killing people all over the place, maybe now you want to regulate it. But it's not. So why would you regulate it? Well, Larry, for safety. That's a lie. That's a lie. They're regulating it so they can charge $250,000 per license to ensure the only people who win are not even cannabis producers. The people who will win are big real estate. Big real estate will come in, buy up all the land, get the $250,000 licenses, and they'll make all the money. And the small farmers will be thrown out into the cold. And we go, but Larry, why do we need a license? Let me ask a question. Why do we require a license? The dealer on the corner, did they have a license? Did they kill anybody? Did they hurt anybody? No. I had a plan. If you like your dealer, keep your dealer. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. You should regulate cannabis like a plant. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean that sincerely. I was in Western New York 4 years ago, and someone was saying, well, how are you going to regulate cannabis? And I was thinking about a plant or something. And in Western New York, we grow onions. So I said, you should regulate like onions. And that stuck. And I still say it. Now, I found out later that we have pretty high regulations on onions, but I didn't know that. But anyway, but still, I'll take those. I will take onion regulations over what we have now. Take the law on onions, scratch out onions, write cannabis, done. I would love that to be our law. I don't care what that is. It will work. But Larry, what happens if people aren't regulated? Why do I care? Why do I care? What I care about is farmers. I care about farmers having cash crops. That's what I care about. Small farmers having cash crops. Because to your point, Nick, small farmers, we don't do well in this state. We don't treat them like they actually are, which is small businesses. That's actually what small farmers are. They're small businesses. We should make exactly the same. No difference. We should stop trying to make farmers get loans against their land, which just waits 10 years before they lose their farm, and allow them to have investors like businesses do. They want to invest. Small business loan. Why not? You want to change how your farm is? You want to put a wholesale facility on your farm? You want to put a retail facility on your farm? Why is it a special license? Your business. Do what you need to do. What do I care? You do that, guess what happens? Families stay together in this state. How many times have you seen farmers where their families all leave? Because they can't survive in the farm. Daughter or son doesn't want to be a farmer. Daughter or son wants to be in operations or marketing. Well, then let the farm start a business that they can be in operations or marketing on the farm. They can do it. Why not? I want to keep families together, not break them apart. Let them be together. But I'll go further. It will spur innovation in this state. How do I know that? Look at what we've done in the past. Wineries and breweries. Do you see how they exploded it in our state? Right? Why don't we instead allow that for farmers? Let them have craft grows. Right? Some farmers will make hempcrete or plastic. Some will make cloth. Some will make special types of cannabis for sleeping. Some for pain medication. I don't care, whatever you like. When I was campaigning in 2018, as I've crossed the state for years, it's very common that I would have a woman come to me during one of my events. Usually she's older, usually in her 60s, and she'll come to me and she'll say, Larry, I really hope that you win. And I said, why? Because I want you to make cannabis legal. I said, wow, that's not my image of someone who wants cannabis, right? But it would almost always be a woman and almost always in her 60s or older. And she would tell me, because it's the only way I can sleep. And I can't get it, so I got to have my son go buy it. And I don't want him to go to jail. So that woman has three options. One, an opioid, which, as we all know, is the #1 reason for addiction in our country. #1 reason is opioid. #1. So that's her option one. Option two, maybe her son goes to jail and his life is ruined. Option three, suffer. Why is that okay in our state? Why is that the norm in our state? Shame on every legislator who believes that's the right answer. Shame on a governor for believing that's the right answer. If that woman wants to have her own medicine and she doesn't have a lot of money, and many New Yorkers, in case you didn't notice, don't have a lot of money. In case you haven't noticed that, a lot don't. She can grow her medicine in her backyard. I don't care. But Larry, we should limit it to 3 plants or 4 plants. Why? Because some bureaucrat said so? What about 7 plants? What happens if it's 9 plants? Or 4,000 plants? Why do I care? Why is possession a crime? It's not a crime. Now, if I sell that to someone and say it's X, but it's Y, that's fraud, that's a crime. If I rob someone's cannabis, that's theft, that's a crime. I'm gonna grow up in my backyard? How's it a crime? Who am I hurting? Where's the victim? There is none. There is none. But I would ask you, what governor candidate would ever tell you that? And I've been yes, thank you. I'm the only one. And I've been preaching this gospel for 5 years. Let farmers grow the way they want to grow. Let people be the way they want to be. And here's the best part. You will see in our new cannabis legality, we will help out people of color. Wonderful idea. They have been hurt more by the drug war than others. I would agree. Nice idea. But haven't white people also been affected by this war on drugs? Am I only going to help people of color and that's it? I don't care what the color of your skin is. I care that you've been hurt by this and don't have a second chance at life. That's what I care. For those of you who know my background, my mom was an addict. She was a felon. I wanted to give her a second chance at life. I'm going to give everybody a second chance at life, regardless of your gender, regardless of your race, creed, ethnic background. I would like everyone to have a second chance. So why wouldn't I just say anyone can have a license? And those people who are good at it naturally will move towards it naturally. And those people who aren't, farmers who know how to farm it may not know how to sell it. Well, there's a bunch of people in New York City and New York State who've gone to jail for selling cannabis. What they know how to do is sell cannabis. So you can then hire them and they can go sell cannabis for you. That is not a bad idea whatsoever. And why should I be involved with that? Why should I be involved in any way, shape, or form? You do you, allow people to be free, and they'll find the way they want to go on their own. Far better. But I go one step further. Another reason why I keep pushing cannabis. There are so many people in our state who have addiction problems. You see it everywhere, all over the place. And people go, well, how's cannabis help that? 2 ways, in prevention and also healing. In prevention, 80% of all addicts in this state and across the country somehow happen because of a legally FDA-approved opioid that went into their body, that they got legally, and they got hooked, and now they're an addict. What if they had a cannabis product instead? What if that person had access to a cannabis product for pain? They didn't have to go opioids. I'm not against opioids. For certain people, exactly the right thing for them. You should choose what pain medications you want for your body. I should not be deciding that. And for some people, opioids is the right answer. And if you believe that, please take it. But why is that the only thing? Why can't you take a cannabis product? Well, take that, and guess what happens? You're not getting hooked on opioids. So we stop the new addicts. But then how do you stop the ones who are addicts now? Well, now we go to the completely broken New York State oasis, which is an embarrassment we should have gotten rid of years ago. If you don't know, that's the people who tell you how you can fix people who are addicts. They've been failing for 30 years, and we still give them money. failing for 30 years, and we still give Oasis money instead of having local communities figure out how to help people with addiction problems. Number one issue, if you have an addict in your life, if any of you had one, they don't want to get clean and get good when they're jonesing for their drug. They're not going to. It's not how it works. What do cannabis products do? Ease the pain of withdrawal. So now that person can have a conversation and try to get clean and try to get their life back in action. We don't do that. Not even close. We put them in a system that ensures they never get out of that system. That's what we do. Instead of saying, hey, try a cannabis product. I'm sorry, go ahead. And then correct. That's what we do. Yes, we just punish them. Yes, correct. Instead of allowing them to actually have a cannabis product and work their way and wean their way off of their drug. Cannabis is not in any way, shape, or form. It's an entry drug. It's just what it is, right? It's a stepping stone. It's an exit drug, is what it actually is. It's an exit drug. That's what it really is. Why don't we let people do that? This is why I push cannabis so much. Is why I talk about it often. To be forward, I'm the squarest guy in the room probably. The only drug I use is caffeine. I don't even drink. So it's not because I want to get high. I don't even use cannabis products. It doesn't matter what I like. It's irrelevant what I like. What matters is what you like. Thank you. Yes, I got a clap for that. Yes, what matters is what you want. As governor, how am I supposed to know what's right for all of you? I don't. I don't. I'm sorry, Kathy Hochul does because she speaks to God. So I'm sorry, she speaks to God, I don't. Okay, so she has a special connection I don't have, right? So she knows. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't plan to know. But Larry, what if you're wrong? You might be wrong. You're a human being and you might make a mistake. The odds are you will, at least one, if not a couple. But it's your life that you own and you will fix and help and get better. And we'll try to help you if we can, of course. But when a governor makes a mistake, 18 million New Yorkers pay. You make a mistake, you and your family pay. Hopefully we can get that fixed and taken care of. But when a governor makes a mistake, 18 million people pay. And the governor will never admit mistakes. Government will never admit mistakes. What they will do is give the project more money. They will reward failure with more money. That happens every single time. So they tell you to go fix the potholes. I'm gonna go fix the potholes. Doesn't work. What happens? More money. Right? Schools don't work. What happens? More money. Every single time government fails, more money. And people will tell you, well, you have to use government, not private sector, because then you actually have some recourse. That's a lie. When's the last time you've had recourse with your government? Never. You don't remember. None of you remember ever. Maybe 1776. None of you remember ever being able to petition your government and get anything you want. You don't remember it. None of you do. When they want to do something, they come to your town and they say, now we're going to have open conversations. You sit down, you go there, tell them why you don't want the thing. They smile, nod their head, and do what they want anyway. Every single time. None of you have it. And I don't know who's here, but I will tell you. Many of you haven't seen before. None of you can tell me an answer where I went there and yelled and they said, okay, and stopped. It's never happened. Never happened. They took you out in cuffs sometimes. Yes, never happened. You have no recourse. Well, we'll vote differently. No, you won't, because everything's gerrymandered. No, you won't. Everything's gerrymandered. No, you won't. And with the way election law works, you can't even get in the ballot unless you're part of the R's or the D's. And what do they have? A system that makes sure only who they want goes on top. So you don't even get that. There is no recourse. Well, government's better because I don't know why. It just feels better. It's a monopoly. Are you telling me monopoly is good? Do you like monopoly? That's what government is. But every policy I talk about is a way to break the monopoly of government, not to get rid of it. And some of you hardcore libertarians get mad when I say that because you want to get rid of it. Oh, I got it. That's not where I am. I got thumbs up all over the place. Yes. That's where I am. Yeah, exactly. I know you are. I know you are. But that's not where I am. I am about breaking the monopoly of government and allowing others to take up the opportunity also. So that government will either get better or community absorbs enough to help everybody out and government becomes irrelevant in any given place. I know people fall down. People need help and services. Of course they do. My argument is government will never do a better job than community. And whenever you add government, you by default remove community. So the more community we have, the better we'll deal with our own people, and the less we'll need government. But we can still help the people that we love. I still want people to be helped. I just think that the wrong people to do it. So I know I brought up a lot on cannabis, but you were here, and I know, so I wanted to make sure. And if it were me, there was no way at all they're ever going to arrest anybody or take away anybody's cannabis products. If I was governor, literally it's a blanket pardon. I'm not even joking, it's a blanket pardon. If I can't change the law, if they would say, no, Larry, we want you to punish him, but good, blanket law. Blanket pardon. Any possession charge of cannabis, the governor pardons automatically. So don't bother charging. It is a blanket pardon. We only pardon at the end. I'd have an office of the pardon. I'm serious. And the reason for that is to stop possession crimes. Stop it. It's not a crime to possess something. It's a crime that hurts somebody to get it. It's a crime to steal it. It's a crime to defraud somebody, but to have something is not a crime. Those have to be pardoned. Not just that. If I can't get rid of the Office of Cannabis Management, here's what I can do. How it works all the time, sadly, is all these different boards, the governor picks 3, the Senate picks 1, and the Assembly picks 1. What does that mean? They can reward their cronies who gave them lots of money with positions of authority so they can make money in the government game. That's not a joke, that's reality. And while it's unethical in New York State, totally legal. It is not against the law at all. In fact, Hochul and Cuomo before, each of them has made over $800,000 every year in donations from people they put on boards. And that's data you can look at yourself. You can check it out yourself. I'm not making that up. I've said it 1,000 times. No one sued me because it's true. And again, not illegal. In my view, unethical, but not illegal. So what would I do? I put 3 of my people on the board, and their rule is you are to rubber stamp every license. And the fee you will take for every license is $0. That's what I would do. If I can't get rid of the Office of Cannabis Management, I would make it irrelevant by appointing 3 people who would just go, yes, 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 yes. Making it irrelevant. Now you might go, Larry, that seems weird. That's the rules we have right now. So they won't let me change the rules. I will follow their rules, and I will still let people do what they need to do. We can do it again and again and again. It can absolutely work. That's why I brought up cannabis. Hope that answered your question at least. Did it? So now you know where I stand on that. You brought up something else. You brought up energy and green energy. And I appreciate you bringing that up. How do you,
green kind of night.
How do you, yes, I've had it before. Yes, you're not the first person to bring this up to me. Green energy, we're all worried about this. 2 parts I want to bring up. The idea of putting in solar panels and wind and then larger areas, 2 parts of energy. I'm not against windmills or solar panels, none of that stuff. I don't care, whatever thinks appropriate. What I'm against is Albany deciding where it goes, their cronies getting all the money, and you get no say. That's what I'm against, and that's how it actually works right now. Right now, what happens is Albany cronies decide, hey, I've got tons of people who can build solar panels or windmills, so can you please give me a grant so I can go down there and make a bunch of money? That's what happens right now. So now they decide that's true, and they come to your neighborhood. And then when they come to your neighborhood, a panel decides, the same panel, and the panel's not from your area. The panel's from people in Albany. So the panel, they don't live where you live. It's from Albany. They show up. They're all going to get paid on this deal. So they're putting the windmills in. It doesn't matter what you think because they're all getting paid. They are putting it in, guaranteed. And then they say, we're here for public comment. You yell and say, hey, I don't like the windmills. They go, thank you for that. Thank you for that. They put them in. You want to put windmills in? You want to put solar panels in? No worries. The people from the panel must be locally elected. So they are accountable to the local people. And they must live in that area. If they live in that area and are elected by local people, then they're on the panel. And then the people say, yes, we want it. I'm okay. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your land. I'm here to tell you what to do with your community. But I'm sure as hell not going to allow someone in Albany to decide what happens in your community. You're going to have to deal with the windmills when they go back home and put their money in the bank. When they're cashing their checks, you're the one looking at windmills. You're okay with that? No worries. Your land, do as you see fit. Your community, do as you see fit. I'm not concerned about that. But the big picture, you said it, you were right. We have to deal with buying oil, buying oil, buying energy. We do. We buy energy from Canada and Pennsylvania. Shame on us. Shame on us. People go, Larry, we got to stop fracking. Not that I'm against or pro fracking, but the reality of it is There's only about 14 or 15 different counties that can actually do any fracking in the state realistically, and most of them don't want fracking. That's the reality. So I do not believe the governor should be saying no fracking. I don't believe that. So I would take that off, but we probably wouldn't frack anyway because most people don't want fracking. So we're probably not going to frack anyway. However, again, as governor, I shouldn't be saying we're going to frack. I should be saying, who am I to say we can't frack? Your land, your area, your county, you decide. I have two rules if we ever do fracking. Two rules if we ever do. Rule number one, we must know what goes in the ground. And the companies in the past have lied and hid behind intellectual property and said, well, I can't tell you what I'm putting in the ground. It's my intellectual property. I can't tell you. You don't want to be transparent, you may not frack. Period. You want to frack, you can. If you want to, you can. If the counties want it, it's fine. You must be transparent in what's going in the ground. And two, everyone affected must say yes. That'd be my rule on fracking. But I don't think fracking is the answer for New York before. I don't think it is. Most people won't do it anyway. The answer, Gen 4 nuclear power plants. Gen 4 nuclear power plants are the answer for New York State. Why? Gen 4 nuclear power plants literally cannot melt down. This is the newest form of power plants. They cannot melt down. It is physically impossible. They cannot melt down. It cannot happen. And the best part, they use spent fuel rods as their energy. So we're using old and spent energy to make new energy. And we can build 3 of them in North Country. We have tons of land and lots of people in North Country who actually want it. No NIMBY issues, no not in my backyard issues. There's lots of places where people are like, yes, please give us one. Why? Tech jobs, tech support jobs. How many cities and towns do you see across North Country where there's only one thing keeping that city or that town floating? It's a prison, it's a college, it's a hospital, and that's it. There's nothing else there. And they got to hope for some tourism coming by. Not enough. So one reason why people are leaving our state. Put 2, 3, all of a sudden 3 of these nuclear power plants in North Country, we'll just build them. You do that, several things happen. Number one, now we can start exporting energy. Now we're selling energy. As we sell energy, we take a chunk of that money and put it into a fund. I'll cover that fund in a second. That fund will help to pay for other things. Number one, other countries do this. This is how Norway does it. Literally, Norway pays for about 20% of their budget because of their energy. Norway's basically a country sitting on top of an oil field. That's basically what they are, right? That's how they do it. So we can copy that model. But more importantly, cheap energy. If you have cheap energy, you have cheap water. Which means with cheap energy, you can start desalination plants downstate. We can stop shipping all the water downstate. We can stop shipping all the water downstate. Water can stay up here, right? Throw a desalination plant in the Bronx, that covers New York City. Done deal. That breaks that piece, which I like. But more importantly now, cheap energy means we can actually do blockchain mining in New York State. We can support cryptocurrency. We can support blockchain mining. We can support Bitcoin. We can support all that new technology in New York in a green way. We can bring them all back here. We can keep the youth back in this state. Cannabis, bit licensing going away, Bitcoin, nuclear energy, new people will come into this state left and right. The young people will stay. We can do that. We'll work tremendously well. That's our answer for green energy. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim.
Well, yeah, no, it's okay. And I apologize for.
No, go ahead.
It's a point of emphasis that's important. That a lot of people that are listening to you, a lot of people all over New York, do not understand the regulations that upstate New York faces because of this issue of water that you're talking about.
Correct.
You cannot, in the Hudson Valley area, you can barely mow your lawn without the DC guy coming and saying, what kind of gas did you use? Who are you doing? Like, you can't put a pool in your house. You can't swim in the reservoir 100 yards from your house.
Yes.
I don't think that people understand it as well as they should. And that's why I wanted to add a point.
Yes, the thing that people don't realize is New York State is not just New York City. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know that. I happen to know that because I cross this state every single year and I go to every single county every single year, and I have for the past 5 years. So I know what, and when I go to events like this and I just meet people. I don't go to Republican fundraiser, or Democratic fundraiser to fundraiser and say, I travel the state. Because I go to fundraiser. I go to diners. I just came from a church, right? I go to vape shops, gun stores. You see where I go? I go to I was in a park this morning. We were in a park in Plattsburgh this morning. I was in a park. Doesn't matter. I go wherever people are and I talk to average New Yorkers. So yes, I understand these issues, which is why I'm saying it. I brought it up because I knew you would understand that. If you're not shipping water downstate anymore, changes your lifestyle up here.
It's a little bit more freedom. That's
yes.
A beautiful area that's underutilized by the human beings that live in the area. They're under constant threat of serious fines and persecution
yes.
from state agencies if they don't comply with draconian regulations.
Absolutely.
And as you guys know, I'm against draconian regulations.
Yes, and many of us are, Tim. You aren't alone in being against draconian regulations. You're correct. Yes. But that is my point that I'm trying to bring up. I think we absolutely can. We can do that. We can make it work, right? Nick, you taking off?
Yes.
Nick, good seeing you, my friend. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. So, yes, I hope that was clear on my ideas of energy. I wanted to bring that up because you had brought it up earlier. I want to make sure you saw where I stood on that and how I think it can actually work. So I talked about those two things, about cannabis, about energy. And the last piece I want to bring up is the idea of possession, criminal justice. People are talking about crime left and right all the time. Crime. And the answer is because of bail reform or the HALT law. Both of those are incorrect. Bail reform was done poorly in New York, horribly poorly done. And it could have easily been fixed with one thing only. Focus bail reform on first-time offenders. Problem solved. Literally that simple. But I've got Democrats telling me nothing changes, and Republicans telling me end it forever, put everybody in jail. They're both wrong. They're both wrong. The answer is the guy gets arrested, or gal, so was a guy, sorry. Guy gets arrested, right? First time, give him a break on bail. This is his chance to learn his lesson, to go back home and not have his life ruined. This is his chance to get things right. But now I got a guy who's been arrested and convicted 4 times. Why is he back out on bail? Or why is he back out with no bail? Why is it happening? The laws were broken when they made them. And I'm going to go one step further. I don't blame Cuomo for this. People do. I don't. I expected Cuomo to be a bad guy. He was a bad guy. I expected it. What I was shocked by was our terrible judges in this state. Why didn't judges keep people in jail anyway? I'm serious. You're a judge. Guy comes in front of you. He's been convicted 4 times of violent felonies. Convicted. He's arrested again for a violent felony. Bail law says I can't hold him. Hold him anyway. What do the judges say? I'm bound by the law. No, you're not. That is a lie. Don't let a judge say that's a lie. The judge's rules, what they're supposed to do is to interpret the law, not just follow the law. Why do I require a judge then? I replace him with an algorithm. Save a lot of money on robes. What the hell? I don't need him. I don't need him. Your job is to interpret the law, not to just follow it. What are you, a robot? I don't require you to do that. What would have happened? What they do it? Oh my God, he keeps a guy. What happens? Does he lose his job? No. Does he get fired? No. Judges have no repercussions in our state. They are basically gods in our state. They have no repercussions whatsoever. None. They do terrible things. They do. And there's no repercussions whatsoever. What are they talking about? Judges were selfish and said, you've put something on me and I'm mad, so now I'm going to punish you. And literally people died because of it. Shame on our judicial branch in this state. Shame on them all. You should have said, no, I'm keeping this monster in. What would have happened? Would have gone to the appellate courts. And through rulings, they would have changed the law, as they should have. But Larry, they couldn't. I'm going to ask this question, and I bring it up often. You're a judge. In New York State, we make a new law. I'm making this up. It's fantasy. I'm making this up. And the law is, if someone's convicted of graffiti and they are over the age of 16, the mandatory minimum sentence is death. And we bring back the death penalty in New York State. I'm making this up. But sake of argument, we bring this back. Now you're a judge. That law is law now. The governor signs it. It's a 17-year-old kid convicted of graffiti. Mandatory minimum. You must sentence him to death. Do you? I hope you said no. If you said yes, you are a terrible human being. You're a terrible human being if you said yes. Well, the law says you're a monster. Of course you wouldn't. You would go, something, you would either delay it, change it, something, you would find some answer, but I would hope you wouldn't sentence a 17-year-old to death. You wouldn't say, for graffiti. You wouldn't say, well, it's the law. Of course not. which means you're not bound by the law. It means you're not. They could have fixed this and they didn't. These are the reason why bail reform failed is because of our terrible judges in this state. That's why it actually failed. They should have fixed it and they didn't. And I believe it or not, I actually said this 2 years ago that they would fix it. I didn't believe they'd be so bad. I said it, I'm on record. I said that don't worry, we'll be okay. Judges aren't going to let this happen. They won't let monsters back out. They would never do that. I said it publicly. This is why I'm so upset, because I warned people of this. And I thought they would never be that bad. And they were. Let them all back out. Judge's fault. They should have stopped it and they didn't. Shame on them for that. They're probably watching now. I don't care. Be mad at me. I don't really care. You're bad people anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Who cares? Yes. So we can fix bail reform. We could have. That was the key. The HALT program. This is a program in jails where you can't put people in solitary confinement. Conceptually, it sounds amazing. I know people, you don't put them in solitary confinement. But what people don't understand is there are some people in jail who want to go there. It's for their safety. Think about that. Some want to go. You might go, wait a minute, Larry. So we can't pass a law for X and Y? Yes, we shouldn't. You know who we should be talking to? Corrections officers. Well, Larry, what are you, a back the blue guy? No and yes. My mother was a convicted felon. She went to jail and I pulled out of prison. My father was a corrections officer at Rikers Island. I know both sides of this. Cops are not the only blue. Blue is also parole officers. Blue is also corrections officers. It's all of them. And we shouldn't just back them. They are human beings like everybody else, trying to do a job to the best of their ability. And some of them are bad at it and some of them are good at it. But if there's a bad environment, they will act poorly. I have a soft spot for corrections officers. I do, no doubt. My father was one. I have a soft spot for them. I do. Why? The average corrections officer in New York State, life expectancy, 59 years old. Every corrections officer I know knows someone who's committed suicide. Everyone. And I visit prisons all the time, constantly. They're in a bad spot. COVID hit. You can't shut down the prison. COVID hits, there's lockdowns. You can't lock the prison down. So now your relief gets COVID and can't show up. What happens? You're working 16 hours. I'm not joking. There's no way around it. You're working 16, too bad. You're working 16 hours. And they went multiple years without even having a contract. Multiple years, no contract. No raises, no contracts. We punish them horribly. And we shouldn't. We should be having them help us to fix our problems. We don't do that. Here's what I know. There are 3 types of people in prison. Those who should never get out. Those who should do their time and get a second chance at life. And those who should never have been in prison in the first place. I know all 3 of those exist in prison. The problem is I don't know which ones are which. You know who does? The corrections officers who work with them every day. They do. You know who we'd never listen to? The corrections officers who work with them every day. We never listen to them ever. We just punish. If you want to fix this problem, it's got to be in tandem with, in conjunction with both the families of those people who are incarcerated and the corrections officers who watch them daily. We don't do that at all. We just say, well, here's a new law. Here's a new law. Here's a new law. We don't care how it affects them. We don't care. We think every jail is the same. Every prison is the same. They're not. Prisons are different. We can fix this if we actually care about it. I went a little bit long. I apologize. I thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you guys have any other comments or questions, I'm happy to take any comments or questions regardless of what they're on. I know I covered specific issues, but those who don't know, I literally spent last Monday, for those who care, I went online last Monday and I spoke literally 8 hours on policy. Nonstop. I did 8 hours nonstop on it's. You can check it on my website. It's 8 hours straight on my YouTube page. I'm sorry, my YouTube page, Larry Sharpe YouTube page. I did 8 hours straight on policy in New York State, how to fix New York State. People always tell me, well, what are you going to do? There's 8 hours. And I ran out of time. I could have gone further. There was more to do. If you go to anyone else, you go to Lee Zeldin's webpage, you know what the first thing it says? How to help Lee. 9 ways how to help Lee. I'm not joking. Check it out right now. 9 ways. You know what mine is? Over a dozen policies on how to help you. Over a dozen, right there, how to help you. Detailed, how to help you. That's what I do. Any questions or comments, though?
I have a question. I've been following the chat online.
Oh, good, please.
There's a question, and I apologize. You may have covered it, but what is Larry Sharpe going to do about the rising crime rates in our urban areas
Yes.
in New York State.
Absolutely.
I have another question too, but
yeah, no worries. So I hope I dealt with the bail reform piece first, right? That's the first piece on bail. That's getting people back out. However, what no one talks about, why is crime so bad in New York State?
Lockdowns.
Yes.
The lockdown.
You've actually hit it. No one said, they go, it's bail reform. Bail reform is the reason for all the increase in crime. It was terribly done, absolutely, as I mentioned. That's the reason. People then go, oh, I hate bail reform. Rob places. That's not what happened. That's insane to even imagine that. Or it's because of the Holt Act. That's happening to people in prison. How does that I mean, it's insanely stupid to even imagine that. And what does Kathy Hochul say? Nothing. What does Lee Zeldin say? First thing I'm going to do day one, I'm going to fire the DA of Manhattan. How the hell does that help you? It only affects people in Manhattan. So people in Manhattan doesn't affect you at all. And the people of Manhattan want that DA. So you're pissing off people in Manhattan and helping nobody else. That is virtual signaling. That is of no value whatsoever. It's dumb. Well, we don't, go ahead.
I don't think he can actually do it. Like, he can't just fire an elected DA in New York City. He will get impeached if he tries that. Right? Well, he could start an investigation. He could start some bullshit.
Well, there's the other thing to realize, right? First off, if you understand New York at all, there's no way in the world Lee Zeldin wins. It just doesn't happen. He'll lose by 10 points. He won't lose by 30 points. He's a bad candidate and he should lose by 30 points. But he won't, because Kathy Hochul was such a terrible governor that he'll only lose by 10, right? Because she's so bad, he'll just lose by 10. It's not because he's good, it's because she's bad. So he'll lose by 10 points instead of 30 points. Monroe wasn't a bad candidate last time in 2018. He wasn't a bad candidate. And he lost by 25 points. Zeldin's a far worse candidate. But yes. Oh, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's awesome. Yes. I love it. It's awesome. So yes. But in any case, so he'll lose it. So he's not going to win anyway, right? And he knows that. This is why I'm still running, because I've got to be able to get 130,000 write-in votes so that we have a third party next year. Otherwise, there will be no third party next year. And without a third party next year, this becomes a one-party state democracy, which is not democracy. It's not democracy, right? Any party, whether this is Utah or whether it's New York, if it's one party, it's going to become corrupt. That's how it works, because people are humans. Utah's Republican, New York's Democrats. People are people. They're going to become corrupt. There's no way around it, which is why they keep doing what they're doing. Even if he some magically wins, he's not going to control the assembly. And here's their issue. What's going to do? I'm going to do these executive orders. When you put in emergency powers, the assembly has 30 days to end your emergency powers. He doesn't control the assembly. So what he's going to do, he's going to lose in 30 days. He'll do nothing. Even if he were to magically somehow win, he's going to be completely ineffective. And in 4 years, he's going to have a harsher Democrat back in play. Don't forget something. Don't forget this. Please. Bush got us Obama. Obama got us Trump. Trump got us Biden. We're not winning. We're not winning. We just keep getting worse and worse and worse as we keep moving forward. We keep doing it. Extreme here, extreme here, extreme here. Not going to change here either. The answer is third party. So what I'm going to do? People don't mention here. Here's the problem. Why is all of a sudden there more crime? Here's why. We locked down our state for 2 years. How did that matter? We took all of our youth, our young men, who were already in trouble before this, and we said, you can't go to school, you can't go to work, you can't, any future you had is locked down, we don't know anything, so stay home, and here's a little bit of money, and shut up. Then we did this. You know, we're going to break up the entire supply chain so that everything you would buy and sell is now more expensive. So we now made a massive black market and a bunch of young men with nothing to do. And the gangbangers said, thank you. Oh my God. You gave me a black market to make tons of money on, and you gave me recruits from my gangs. Oh my God. Thank you so much. This is our fault. How do I know this? I live in New York City. 40,000 cops in New York City. Prior to 2020, being a cop was a very difficult job, but it wasn't a dangerous job. It was very rare for cops to be killed in New York City. Super rare. Maybe one a year at that. Maybe so. Often many years where no cops were killed, except by other cops by mistake. I'm not joking. That was a common thing in New York City. You'd have a better chance in New York City to be shot by another cop by mistake than to be shot by a bad guy. It was not a thing. 2020 changed everything. Now in New York City, it is dangerous to be a cop. Cops get killed in my city now. That was not a thing before. What changed? Lockdowns. Now all of a sudden we have a black market. Black market means violence. It's how it works. That's why I don't want a black market in cannabis, because it will mean violence. It always does. Why are youngsters shooting people in the streets? 2 reasons. Number one, they know the laws in New York State. If you're under 18 and you shoot people, you have a different penalty. So what do gangbangers do? Use 16-year-olds to shoot people. 15-year-olds to shoot people. You do it. Of course. They know the law. I'm 20. I'm not shooting somebody. You're 15. Here you go. Shoot that guy. I'm not joking. That's why the youngsters are shooting people, because they don't get it. They don't get charged the same way. They know that. Why are these youngsters in school? Because we locked them down for 2 years. So they're not in school now. So now they're out shooting people. Why are they shooting people? It's a black market. So they can't call the cops. They don't have courts. If you don't follow my contract, if you don't do as I say, if you steal my stuff, I can't call the cops. What do I need? Street justice. That's why it's middle of the day. I need you to know that if you mess with me, Tim, your people get shot in the middle of the street. We don't care. That is enforcement of street justice. That's what this violence is. It is black market based. You want to end this violence? End the black market. Let people get back to work. Let people get back in action. Stop these silly lockdowns. Make it easier to hire people. Make it easier to get people back in work. Make it easier to get people working. You will watch the black market slowly go away. As it goes away, the violence will go down. How do I know that? Prohibition taught us this. Prohibition taught us this. Look at the violence in cops, 1920s and during Prohibition. Horrible. Cops getting killed all over the place. Prohibition ends, cops aren't killed anymore. Literally, that's the data. It'll happen here too. It'll happen here too. End the black market, you will see the violence go down. Second piece, 2 years, we locked people down. If you had a mental illness, you now also have an addiction problem. If you had an addiction problem, you now also have a mental illness. You have people who have been isolated for 2 years or more. They are literally going crazy. And I mean that. They are literally going crazy. They've been isolated from their family, from their friends, from their dealers, from their doctors, from their physicians, from their therapists. They are literally going crazy. If you see them, most of them are psychotic. They don't even know, not psychotic, wrong word, not psychotic. They are schizophrenic, schizophrenic. They literally think you're somebody else. They're beating people and hurting people because in their minds, they are someone else. They think you're their dad. I'm not joking. This is what's actually happening. So they beat you or hurt you because they think you're the bad person in their mind. They actually made this up in their own heads. They are broken because we made them that way for 2 years of isolation. This is our fault. End the isolation and help the people out. One of the ways I say doing that. It's actually grossly simple, but it's challenging. It's simple, but it's challenging to actually get going. What I call the carrying caboose. The carrying caboose is for all cities, but in New York City. The second car, every second train, the last car is a place where people who are in trouble can go to. Why? The way our system works right now, if you are in trouble, mentally ill or an addict, you probably can't go to shelters. Why? Bureaucracy. You physically cannot handle the bureaucracy. You can't understand the forms or how it works or what the things are. It is too much for you if you are mentally ill, and if you're an addict, you're jonesing. You're not doing it. You can't take care of all the issues. You can't deal with the curfews. If you're a working poor family, generally speaking, you can deal with that issue. And there are many working poor families who are homeless. They can handle the issues. But the people who are violent are the people who can't handle the issues. Where do they go? They go to streets. They go to MTA. They go to a bus station. Why don't we have a place for them? Have a place for them. Get them back in the system. No cops can be there because they're afraid of cops. Private security. They can go there. Therapist there. Help them out. Social worker there. Get them back in the system. Help them with the paperwork. Get them back into a shelter. We don't have a place like that at all. None of that. We're not meeting them where they are. That's what we should do. You do that, you'll get those people off the street. That's the gangbanger is number one violence. Second violence is people who are either addicts or mentally ill. Deal with those two, you'll change it all. You'll change it all. Did I answer your question?
It did.
Awesome.
It does.
Great.
As you know, I'm a big fan there.
I appreciate it, but I want to answer the question.
You sort of covered this one in there, but it's got to be, every day we've got to talk about this. You're taking votes from Lisa.
Yep.
People are upset about that.
I love that.
Complaining to them.
Yep, I love that.
We have conversations. The math is bogus.
Correct.
Right? They're making stuff up.
I'm happy to deal with this with you right now. Here's the reality. Number one, people say, Larry, why don't you stop and just back Lee Zeldin? I hear that all the time. Stop and back Lee Zeldin. If people wanted to vote for Lee Zeldin, why are they voting for me? Right? Think about this. I polled at 6% last December before I even announced. I didn't even announce I polled at 6%. Now I'm not even on the ballot. I still poll at 3%. So people know me. They're voting for me because they know what I'm telling you. I'm giving people answers when everyone else is just going, other guy bad. Zeldin's entire campaign is Hochul's evil. Hochul's entire campaign is Zeldin's evil. How does that help you? It doesn't. It doesn't help you at all. My campaign is here are ideas to help you. So people want to vote for me. If I all of a sudden back out, you know what happens? At least half of the people who were going to vote for me just don't show up. Half remaining will write me in anyway.
That's why you got to tell them to write. You got to tell them to vote for Lee, Larry.
But they won't. That's my point. They won't. The people who are supporting me, you're right. The people who are supporting me aren't supporting me because I've ordered them to support me.
Yeah.
That's not why. They're not going to listen to my orders, right? I'm the non-order guy. Literally, I'm the non-order guy. I don't order you to do anything. It's not who I am. I never do that. So they wouldn't do it anyway. Even if I told them to do as I say, they would laugh me off the stage. It wouldn't work anyway. So it's not going to work, right? People are voting for Lee Zeldin for one reason. He's Republican. That's the reason. He's not a good candidate. He doesn't have any policies. He's a Republican. That's the reason. So what if instead Lee Zeldin dropped? What if he dropped right now? He said, you know what? I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm going to drop. He does that. And Republicans go, wow, let's replace Lee Zeldin with Larry Sharpe. I'm the next governor. I'm not joking. I'm the next governor. How do I know that? It's happening right now in Utah. Right now in Utah. Utah is, New York State's 3-1 Democrat to Republican, which is why Republican can't win. Republican has not won a statewide election in this state in 20 years. And nothing. Not AG, not governor, not Senate, nothing in 20 years. And the state's getting bluer by the minute. I'm not joking about that. I talk about this all the time. Last month, 6,000 New Yorkers changed their license, driver's license, from New York to Florida. It's 200 a day. Just Florida. That doesn't count Tennessee, Texas, the Carolinas. 200 a day changed their license from New York to Florida last month. You think those people will be voting for Lee Zeldin? Yeah, they would have been. They're not anymore. They're in Florida now. So the state's getting bluer. He's not going to win. It's impossible. So what's happening in Utah? The opposite. It's 4-1 Republican to Democrat in Utah. So the Utah people said, you know what? Democrats said, we're not even going to run a candidate. We don't want to run. We can't win, so we're not going to run a candidate. They instead got behind an independent candidate, a guy named McMullen. He might beat Mike Lee. Mike Lee, the last time he ran, he won his race by 40 points. 40 points. He might lose. This is full disclosure. I know Mike. I like him. I don't want him to lose. So full disclosure. However, he might, because they got behind an independent. Why? In Utah, having a D by your name is toxic. In New York, having an R by your name is toxic. That's how it works. You see that. You see the campaign commercials. You see how they turn Lee Zeldin into Trump, as they always will do. And what gets Democrats out more than anything else? Trump. Of course, I'm not dissing Republicans or dissing Democrats. I'm telling the truth. When Trump's on the ballot, Democrats show up, guaranteed, every single time. So Democrats are going to show up in droves. If Democrats show up in droves, how are Republicans going to win? It's impossible. So it's that they actually did an independent. They might win. Imagine if Republicans done what I asked them to do. And by the way, I did ask them. I said, let me run in your primary. If I run your primary, I'll win your primary. Again, I was polling 6% before I even announced. I'll win your primary. And when I win the primary, I'll have the Republican line, the Libertarian line, the Conservative line, and Andrew Yang at the time was backing me at the forward line. I have 4 lines. I'd be the next governor. Lee Zeldin raised $12 million, threw it all in the garbage, giving money to his cronies and his friends. I only raised $500,000, and 400 of that went into trying to get on the ballot. I'm struggling. You give me $12 million in 4 lines, I'm the next governor. Why? Because Democrats vote for me. I know that. 25% of the people who supported me last time were registered Democrats. About 40% were registered Republicans. 35% were something else. That's as close as you're going to get to third and a third and a third in this state. You're not getting closer than that in this state. Nobody gets closer than that than I do. So I actually would have won. But they said, no, Larry, you may not run in my primary. And not just that, we're going to sue you off the ballot so you can't be on the ballot. So the Republicans and conservatives sued me in civil court and threw me off the ballot. That's what actually happened.
You mean they don't like free and fair elections?
That is correct. None of them do. That is absolutely correct. So now this will be the first time in about 76 years that there will not be an independent governor candidate in New York State on the ballot. People don't know that. First time, 76 years. And nobody cares. And of course, you know how I feel about judges already. We sued in court multiple times. And every judge, over 10 judges, said, too bad. No, they didn't care. The judges in the state support the state, not the people. 250,000 people in New York State every 2 years at least vote independent every single 2 years. And the judges said, we don't care. We will remove all their First Amendment rights. We don't care at all. You don't get an option. You don't get a choice. Now people get mad at me. Larry, if you really had the pull, you would have got the signatures. You don't have the backing. You know who else couldn't get in the line? Lee Zeldin. Yeah, Lee Zeldin tried to get an independent line. He couldn't get it either. Why is he on the ballot? It's a serious question. Lee Zeldin tried to get an independent line. He also could not get on the ballot. Yet he was on the ballot. Why? Because he's an R by his name. Yes, think about the logic in that. They get mad at me, Larry, if you had the backing, then you would have got the signatures. Lee Zeldin didn't get them.
He had less backing than I did.
He had less backing than I did, yes. He didn't get the signatures, he got less than I did. So I guess he shouldn't be on the ballot, but he is. So I'm not taking votes from anybody. And here's the reality. If I don't get 130,000 write-in votes coming up here November 8th, there will be no independent party. The Republican Party will be more broken than ever. How many Republicans are going to leave next year if Lee Zeldin doesn't win? Think about that. They're going to run as fast as they possibly can out of here. This state will become 4-1 Democrat to Republican within 2 years, easy. One party rule, no third parties. How is that going to be good for anybody? I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever you might be. How's that good for anybody? It's not. This is a serious threat, which is why I'm not stopping, which is why it matters. I need you to tell your friends, tell your family to write Larry Sharpe in that ballot on November 8th so that we get 130,000 votes so we have an independent party in this state next year. Because if we have that independent party in the state next year, you can run. You can run. Why does that matter? Because you have individual issues that you care about. And if you actually can run for office locally, people hear and see them. You may not win, it's fine, but you get some press, talk about it, your issues will move forward. Without it, only the establishment can run, and that's not the right answer. Go ahead, please.
I apologize. I want to make sure I understand this clearly. If somebody doesn't get 130 votes,
130,000 votes in a governor's or presidential election, that's the law. Must be 130,000 votes in either a governor election or a presidential election.
Then it's like null, like
correct.
Again, no independent.
Until you get it.
Until you get it. But to get on the ballot is impossible. So you have to get on the, and what I mean impossible, there's no hyperbole on that. It is impossible. If it were possible, someone would have done it. A multimillionaire, a guy worth $50 million, couldn't do it. Lee Zeldin, a sitting congressman, couldn't do it. I did it last time. I got sued off the ballot, so I couldn't do it. It is no one did it. It is impossible to be done. So what does that mean? You're never going to run again. There will not be an independent party in this state for a generation. Because why would they change it? Why would you change it? It is Coke and Pepsi deciding what soda goes on the grocery store. Why would they ever choose another soda? They never will. They never will. Does that answer your question? That's how it works. Good. Guys, thank you so much for tonight. I appreciate it. Have a great night. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you.
There's our cola in the cooler.
There we go.